And today, fifth grade, we kind of investigate, we kind of look at, we kind of study the correlation or the connection of fractions and decimals and percents. They are all related to each other in some sort of warped and sort of twisted way. And the best way, if you're kind of new at this whole figuring out how all these go together to think about it, is really, you're used to using this because we think about it, or we do it mostly when we talk about money. Money is a great way to think about how fractions and decimals and percents all kind of go together. Okay? First of all, I don't know how much we've talked about percents, but percents are, anybody know what percents actually mean? And you can kind of pick it out of the name of per and cents. Per and cents. Like, your grades are written in percents and you don't know. I mean, if you get an 80%, what does that mean, Brian?
It means like the amount that you got right.
Or wrong, I suppose. But yeah, but what specifically? 80% means what? You got 80% right, but what really does that mean? Colin?
You got an 8.
No, you got a C, but that's neither here nor there. Frankie, 80% means?
You made 4 out of 5 shots.
Okay, it's 4 out of 5 as a reduced fraction, but in reality, 80% means 80%. Here, let me give you a little helpful look. A little percent sign. Check this out. You will forever be changed after seeing this. This is how we make a percent sign. If you take these little things here and rearrange them, you get the number 100. 80% really means that if you were given 80 problems, or 100 problems, you would get 80 of them right. Well, we don't have enough time to do 100 problems on a math quiz. So on a math quiz, you get 80% if you got 8 out of 10 right, which if you cover up these zeros, that's what it is. Okay, we try to move that there. And that's what percent means. You know, we do batting percentages, free throw shooting percentages. You know, we don't always shoot 100 of something, so we have to figure it out. And that's where fractions, decimals, percents, and money all kind of go together there. For example, and the nice thing, the reason that it works, because how many cents are in a dollar? So you do this all the time, whether you know it or not. Take a look at the fraction 1/2. Okay, without using your little fraction circles, which you can use in a pinch, you know, if you talk about money, 1/2 of a dollar is written how in decimal form? Victoria?
50, no,
In decimal form.
50.
Yeah, 0.50, which is the decimal equivalent of 1/2. Sometimes we leave that zero off, it doesn't really matter. And then here's the beauty of this, okay? 1/2 of a dollar is 50 cents out of 100 cents, which means its percent is 50%. Because that's what percent means, out of 100. And now, always when we talk about cents, that is out of 100. Same thing when you talk about 1/4 of a dollar. 1/4 of a dollar, which we happen to call a quarter. How do we write a quarter or 1/4 of a dollar in decimal form? How do you write a quarter, Jordan, in decimal form?
0.25.
Yeah, 0.25. And then guess what percent 1/4 is. If Frankie's making 1 out of every 4 free throws, which probably is better than he would usually shoot, that would mean what percent is he shooting? Frankie? 25%. Other things we work with in money, a dime. A dime is what fraction of a dollar? Here, let's put a dime we know is 10 cents. How many dimes does it take to make a dollar, Colton? How many dimes in a dollar? 10. So a dime is 1/10 of a dollar. And 1/10 of a dollar then is what percent? What percent? You know that you got 10 cents there. Counting it is 10%. So there are some, when you look at money, money can really, really help you do that. Now, don't get all mixed up in this because not everything works like that. Money is a good one, but time would not be a good one to use for that. Okay? Time would not be a good, because if I get, here would be time, and don't even write this down. Don't write this down. If you're talking about time, if you were talking about a half an hour, how many minutes is a half an hour? 30 minutes. But 1/2 does not equal 0.30, nor does 1/2 the same as 30%. Time doesn't work that way because we've cut time into 60 minutes, not 100 minutes. So you can't use time for that, but you certainly can use money for that. Let me see what other things they ask you. I think they only go with tenths and halves and whatever there. They're going to give you, here's one. Write this one down. A quarter plus a dime is what percent of a dollar? A quarter plus a dime is what percent of a dollar? Well, we already kind of looked at that. A quarter is 0.25 and a dime is 10 cents. So altogether you have 35 cents. So what percent is 35 cents? It's really hard, Andrew. It's what? What percent is this?
35.
There you go. Yeah. There's no thinking really involved once you know that. Or you could have kind of done it this way too. You know a quarter is 25% plus another 10%. And you get 35%. So here's a question. Ooh, let's see if we can do this. A nickel, which is what? How about this? This would be for the math geniuses out there. What fraction of a dollar is a nickel? Which means you have to know how many nickels it takes to make a dollar, because that's what fraction it is. What fraction of a dollar is a nickel? Wow, Sam.
1/10.
No, that's a dime. There's 10 dimes that make a dollar. A nickel that takes more. A nickel. Addie? 20. So a nickel is 1/20th of a dollar. Now here's where things get goofy. Guess what decimal? What decimal would a nickel be? And so 1/20th is going to be what decimal as a decimal? Oh, Trevor? How do you write a nickel in cents? I mean in dollars with a decimal. No, 0.5 would be 50 cents. Not 0.5, but 5 cents equals what as a decimal, Jordan?
0.05.
0.05. That's a nickel. And guess what percent then that would be, Brian?
5%.
5%. So 1/20th as a percent is 5%. Which means, once again, Frankie, when he's shooting his free throw and he makes 1 out of 20,
Frankie.
is percent. We're getting kind of close with this. Just have to say, okay, well done. I think you'll be able to handle
Well
that.
done,
there.
Frankie. Yeah, you did a really good job.
Frankie's got lots of time to prove me wrong on basketball.